I'm Adrian Alexander with The Absolute Sound. Thanks for watching and thanks for all of your kind comments. So what I'm about to introduce today is the 130 HiFi Rose Transport Streamer. Years ago when my daughter was young, I gave her a catalog and I said, you know, Santa Claus is coming. There was probably 10 pages in it. And I said, why don't you circle all the toys that you want Santa Claus to bring you? Well, to my surprise, she circled every toy on every page. And I flashed back and thought, reviewing this product, that's how I am. I'm like a 12-year-old kid that likes new, shiny stuff. Because I have the syndrome where everything is new and shiny, and my family teases me, you like shiny stuff, and I do. So who is HiFi Rose? Well, the parent company is called SciTech. They're a Korean-based company. They've been around since 1954. They've been making sit-top boxes. Apparently, the rumor has it, there's a gentleman that worked there that's a huge audiophile. He wanted to start his own division and see if they could sell audiophile-based products, such as the Transport Streamer, one of the products they carried, a DAC Streamer combination, a CD Ripper, a CD Transport, and an integrated amp. They've been in the US, I'd say around 7 years. The streamer is $5,200. So let me start by saying this. It's a standalone streamer. It comes in black or silver. Some would argue, why do you want a standalone streamer? Because there are some expensive DACs that just simply, use an Ethernet connection that's room ready and they use that. Well, I was fortunate enough to try it with 3 separate DACs. The first DAC was the Stellar Gold PS Audio DAC. Sounded incredible. In my system, layered, very nice background, very detailed. The subtleties came out. Tried it with another DAC, which is called the Harmony DAC, and there'll be a review on that later this summer. Now that DAC is $2,700 versus $5,200 or $5,100 for the HiFi Rose. It was comparable. It sounded great. Maybe that's a little overkill for some people. I don't know. I also had a chance to try the streamer alone with the $13,000 DAC called the Mola Mola, and to tell you the truth, that was a wonderful experience. All 3 DACs that I used, I was very pleased with the sound of the HiFi Rose. Overall, the experience was delightful. And again, it's got the shiny effect. And we'll talk about that later in the review, why I like this streamer so much and why it's a must-have for me. It's just a personal preference. It has its own app. It's called the Rose HiFi, which works perfectly. Now, when I first set it up, it took a little while to get things up to speed. And it's just learning a new program. For me, I preferred the Rose HiFi app versus Roon. It's not an indictment on Roon. It just seemed like it worked better with their software. One of the things I liked about the HiFi Rose is how it's constructed, how it's machined. It's a very heavy unit. I like the buttons on the top, and I like the emblem that represents the rose. As you can see, this is where I can power it up right here. Now we're going to go through the menu. And what you'll see, it's really cool because it's Qobuz Direct. You can see this, obviously. To come back, it's right here. Let's take a look at the Rose Home. Now you can set up different screens. It'll tell you about recently played albums, played artists. Touch the screen, it's really easy to use. I mean, I don't have to touch it twice, but anyway, some of the things it offers is Rose TV. So if you want to watch, for example, YouTube stuff, you can watch it on this screen. As you can scroll through how easy it is to go through, there's Apple Music, there's also Rose Radio, there's a plugin, there's a file manager. So let's go back to this part right here. As again, HiFi Rose offers a CD ripper. You can attach it to this if you'd like to hook it up to that. So let's take a look at the clock, for example. So if I want to set it, I can use this different. It also includes the weather, but I thought this was kind of neat. It's kind of nice and shiny and touch screen. There's a different look. There's a tube look for you tube guys and gals. If you want to do it that way, do it this way. There's the year, the month, the day. You can see what time we're shooting this, the temperature in Salt Lake City, Utah. These are back in the day. This is, Tom probably remembers these. So anyway, alarm clock. Again. Let's go into settings. Just take a look, go through that. So there's the system information, system settings. There's the Rose Connect library. Again, it has their own app, which I thought sounded great. There's the media library. I don't have anything attached to it. Well, actually I do. Some DSD files, which will scan and it'll bring those up here in a minute, but I don't want to take too much of your time, so we'll go back here. Here are the audio settings. We haven't looked at the back yet, but what I like about this is you can see it from the front. So I happen to have this hooked up to USB. So it also has a clock input at 50 ohms and 75 ohms. You can use the clock. It has an HDMI out, which is very convenient if you want to run it through your television. There's the coaxial out, optical out, AES, ABU out, and it has I2 out inputs. So there are two options here in case it's not configured correctly with A or B mode, which I prefer this when using this. And there's the USB. And I'm going to say yes for now and connect this, and you should see it connect. And there it is. Right now we're going to run USB. Let's go back out of here. File manager. And by the way, at the bottom of the unit, I didn't discuss this, you can put an SD drive and do all your music that way, and you'll have to format it. I just happen to use an external drive with all my DSD files. The VU meters, you can use these, this color, purple, see how smooth it is, and once the music's playing, you can display the VU meters. Again, I like this because it's shiny, but not only is it shiny, it sounds incredible in my system. Okay. So here's the remote that it comes with. I know that if you read online, sometimes it says the remote's optional, but it comes with a remote. It works and it does a nice job. But honestly, if you use the HiFi Rose app, use it from your phone or tablet. I didn't use this remote much. I don't have a criticism. I just wish the buttons were bigger and it was lit. But I use my phone or my iPad, just so you guys know that's the remote. So you have a ground here. There's your coaxial output. You have ASE EBU output, optical output. So if you have an external clock, you can use that at 75 ohms or 50 ohms. I happen to have an audiophile switch, so I tried it at 50 ohms with the clock. It did clean it up a little bit. I can't say that it didn't. Here's two slots for the USB for your files. This is the USB output. Here's I2S. There's just one, but again, in the menu, you can change it from A to B. That's what I prefer. Here's another unique thing that I kind of liked. It comes with an Ethernet that you slide in right here. You can slide it in here for an Ethernet switch, pop that up here, not a problem. But the one I prefer, and I always think sounds better, this is just my opinion, is the fiber. So, goes in just like that. I happen to have fiber coming into my home, plugs in perfectly. For those of you who may not have fiber, but if you want to convert it to fiber, what I've done is I've taken this just like this, ran it into here. I don't have the other switch here. And from there, I've taken the RJ45 and plugged it into my switch or into my network. Well, obviously, but I didn't put the switch in here, but you can do that. This in itself right here, it converts it to fiber, which it does clean up the sound in my opinion. This to me is, yeah, well done, well built. Somebody took some time and thought this through. All right, you guys know this is a big deal for me, customer service. Well, the distributor is MoFi Distributing, which I know you can buy this unit on Music Direct, but I had an issue when I first set it up. There's a couple things I didn't understand. Actually, it was user error. Got in touch with the technical people at MoFi Distributing. Guy was great. He walked me through everything, and it was easy. So again, I think it was user error, but just so you guys know that they do answer the phone and they will walk you through everything. So again, that's always That's always important, at least for me, that's important for me. So I was happy with the customer service. Let's talk about the sound, because that's what we're here for, right? So this streamer, compared to other streamers that I've heard in my system, was the best sounding one for a number of reasons. Wider soundstage, very layered. I could hear details that I didn't hear before. Yes, it's $5,100, and I'm told there's a lot more expensive streamers. But I think for the price and the fact that it's a separate unit and it works well in my system, I liked it so much, I incorporated it in my system. In other words, I bought this streamer as my reference piece. So honestly, I would agree with some of you. My thinking in the beginning was, it's like, okay, so how can a streamer sound better than another streamer? Yes, this one costs maybe 3 times as much as another one, but when you think about it, it's the way it was built and it's the way it integrates. I listen to all types of music. I use the DSD files. I put this thing through the test. In fact, there were no dropouts. Sometimes I've had that with other streamers. There were no dropouts. Once I got used to the app, it was a learning curve, but it was easy to use. Just a well-designed product. With this streamer, the way I wanted to test it is I love female voices. I like male voices too, but there's just something about the female voice, and that's what I resonate to is the mid-range and the voice. So one of the songs I listened to using this streamer, and I know you guys have probably never heard of it, but Norah Jones, I Don't Know Why. Just the sure power of her, I'm kidding about that, but just the sure power of her voice and the piano and the background and just the airiness sounded great. Her voice was so forward sounding using this streamer. It's a great piece of music, as a lot of you know. The other song was by Alicia Keys, If I Ain't Got You. How it starts out with the piano and then it slows down and she goes, and then you hear the bass drum come in, and then her voice just explodes. Very clear, very precise. The instruments were where they're supposed to be. I felt as though I was probably on the 12th row listening to her. So my experience with this and the female vocals and some of the jazz stuff and some of the drum stuff and some of the organ stuff and some of all the different genres was, I was happy with every piece of music. I will say this though, if the recording, what I did notice, if the recording isn't that bad, this streamer is not going to clean it up. It reveals it more. So I want to be clear about that as well. It's not a miracle worker. So you're asking yourself, wow, do I want to pay $5,000 for a streamer? I don't know. That's something that you're going to have to decide. All I know is that, again, in my system, it just brought out a little more oomph, a little bit better sound stage. And those are the things that I'm listening for and looking for in a system. And like I said in the beginning of the video, if I can't audibly hear it, then to me, it's not worth it. But again, this is going to be my reference streamer. It's cool to look at. It's shiny. I definitely would recommend it.